last Hacker Hangout. I believe it's almost been a month. There's a lot of things going on. Did a few events on our side. Funny enough, the week that I actually wanted to do it, I got COVID, which sucked. So we had to delay it another week. And then I went to another event, NFT NYC, as some of you guys know. And so yeah, so now we're back on track, ready to do more of these. So I appreciate you guys hopping in. As usual, the floor is always yours. So if you have anything specific you guys want to hop in on, and yeah, hop in on and discuss, like feel free to throw that in the event channel or, join me on stage. I think one of the cool things too, or actually, I mean, a lot has happened in the past month, funny enough. I mean, we've had that whole Celsius debacle, BlockFi, 3 Hours Capital, that whole mess of a mess was happening in the past few weeks. Uh, yeah, so that kind of was a big damper on the market. We are in a bit of a lull in terms of the market, but that's not to say projects aren't building. I think, in my opinion, I think some of the better projects or some of the ones that outlast a lot of them are outlast kind of the trends of the market are the ones that have been building and launched during the bear market. Less so of hype, more so in terms of product market fit, product validation, and things around that nature. I think what are some of the bigger exploits that have come out in the past few weeks or past week? Let's see. I know OpenSea had a data breach where they leaked a bunch of user emails. So that's another big one. Harmony, that's a big. Funny enough, I met Harmony at NFT NYC, and then before that even ended, they got exploited. So if you guys don't know, essentially, about $100 million was stolen from their Horizon bridge, which is their token bridge, and they offered $1 million to the hackers to return the funds. But they are currently, I believe, some of the funds or some percentage of the funds is currently being sent to Tornado Cash. So if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically essentially in a nutshell a mixer of sorts. So it doesn't seem as if there's going to be any conclusion at that end, especially in the favor of Harmony at this point. And so yeah, and then on top of that, we have Crema Finance, which I believe I just read about this one yesterday. So they shut down their liquidity protocol. They're a project on Solana, and they're investigating a current hack that's currently that they currently experienced. So they are temporarily suspending their programs. So that's kind of what's been happening in the past like week and a half, 2 weeks. I think one of the bigger concerns, at least on my plate or at least everybody's plate, is pretty much the 3 Hours Capital filing for bankruptcy, the Celsius issues, which looped in BlockFi and a few other I guess C DeFi protocols. But yeah, so what is the topic for today's hangout? It's pretty much an open discussion. So whatever you guys want to talk about, the floor is yours. Right now, I'm just kind of recapping some of the current events that have been happening in the past week and a half. And so I guess like one of the first questions that kind of came up is so I don't even know how to say this. This Izayu is your name. So if anyone has any articles that go into detail about the most vulnerable aspects of DeFi apps and or bridges, or any insight where you can point him in the right direction, feel free to throw that in the event channel. Isaiah, there you go. Got it. I like that. I got that for next time. So Nuko Nam, thanks so much for posting that in there. So Isaiah, if you look in the event channel, there's a bunch of links that are thrown in there for your viewing pleasure. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions or anything you guys want to know, feel free to throw them out. Just an FYI, there will be a POAP. I'll probably throw the link up there at some point during the call. But yeah, anything you guys want to uh, learn more about, be pointed in the right direction for in terms of resources, feel free to let me know or let the group know, and we'll go ahead and address those concerns. I think one of the things too is if you guys are new to this and you haven't followed us on Twitter, I mean, you're here on our Discord channel, so you're definitely here on Discord. Our Telegram announcements channel, or even our email list, which is at the bottom of our homepage, immunify.com. Feel free to subscribe to a few, all, or one of those. If you are a white hat, it's probably the most beneficial because we I essentially do all the launch preps and the launches. So I can tell you right now that those are the most up to date places to get the newest launches that come out. So two that just went out this morning, or at least my morning, are two, funny enough, metaverse projects. So one is the Sandbox, and the other one is Decentraland. I'll post both links in here for you guys. So this one is the Sandbox, and then the other one is Decentraland. So Decentraland has been around for a little bit. The Sandbox is doing some really, really cool stuff, metaverse related. But yeah, so they just released. So Decentraland was a 500K bounty, and Sandbox is 200K. And if you missed it last week, on Friday there was a launch for the project Spool. So Spool was a $1.5 million bounty. And you can find all these bounties in the New Bug Bounties channel. So you don't need to hear me ramble about it, but hold on. New Bug Bounties. So you guys can find that all here. Let's see if we got any questions. How much can you earn on the bug bounties? Can you do it for a living? So to answer that question, yes, you can do it for a living. There are a few people that I run into that are also within the Immunify community that only do bug bounty, that basically hunt bugs for a living. You have people that have done it on the side, just as side income, or they just do it for fun. As far as how much you can earn, that really depends. So a lot of people look straight at, for example, the criticals as the max that they can earn. So they look at, for example, like the 1.5 million. That's a great goal. If you can find a critical for that, that's 100% amazing. I think what you shouldn't overlook is some of the underlying less critical ones. So ones that categorize themselves as high, medium, or low. Because there are some decent payouts there. For example, like maybe it might be one point. Actually, let me take a look at what do you call it? Spool as an example. So if you look at the Spool bug bounty, so the maximum is 1.5 million. But if you look at the high, it's a $50,000 payout. Medium is 5,000. Low is 1,000. So even if you don't get a critical at 1.5 million, you could still get a nice 50K if you find a high vulnerability. There's other ones where you can get a medium for 20,000. So yes, it's still possible to earn a living just by hunting bugs. So that's not out of the question. Let's see what else we got. Second day learning about smart contracts. That's awesome. I mean, you came to the right place in terms of resources, and just getting up to speed as fast as possible, Rakib. There's a lot of resources on our website, not our website, here in the Discord, as well as our blog. So on our blog, we have a lot of postmortems, bug fixes that we post up. So if you want to take a look in terms of logic and some of the exploits that happened in the past and were fixed, and why they were exploits, how they're fixed, why the fix works. You get full write ups and explanations for how those work. So it'd be a perfect resource for you to take a look into. Um, Prerequisites for smart contract hacking. I mean, a development background is probably a plus, or definitely a plus, I would say. I think one of the interesting things that we've seen is that a lot of the white hats come from different backgrounds. So not everybody is a top tier auditor from Open Zeppelin or Guardian or Trail of Bits or whatever. But we've seen, high school students, college students submit criticals or submit bugs that they find. People that don't even specifically work in Web3, they just do it for fun. They also submit criticals as well. So in terms of prerequisites, it's some sort of technical background, and then I would say one of the biggest things is being able to understand the logic of the code, what the code is asking the program to do, or is asking the users to do. So ability to read and know how to use Google, that too. I didn't break it down to that, but again, like the logic standpoint stands true. I'm new. Where can I report the bugs? If you go to immunify.com and create an account, you can do that as well. If you have any bugs that need to be reported, actually, I'm not even sure. Pepin, do you know who they would go to if they have a bug that they would report? All I know is that if you have a bug with a project that has a bounty listed on Immunify, you can just create an account and report it through there. If it's not there, I guess I'll wait for Pepin to answer me. What if it's not on a project that's on Immunify? I think that's kind of what I was trying to cover here. So I didn't get any context on that. I guess we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see when Pepin responds, but I'll come back to it. Um, let's see what we got. What else we got? Any correct roadmap on smart contract hacking like a direct path? Honestly, it's different for everybody. Funny enough, I've heard so many different stories. Where, for example, like I said, like some people they're just like top tier CS guys that just got into blockchain, or they're Web 2, they're doing pen testing for Web 2 apps, and then they decide they want to do Web 3 because there's a little bit less competition. So there's really no direct path. There's really no degree or school or anything that you can go to essentially be a white hat or bug hunt for a living. But yeah, Sleepy's article is solid. Let me see. I don't even. Yeah, hacking the blockchain. There you go. Thanks, Pepin. Auditor's roadmap. That's a good one too. Immunify waifu. Do you think it makes sense to focus on Solana from a bug bounty perspective? Less competition, probably more bugs out there, but less projects. Probably. We do release bug bounties on that come from the Solana ecosystem. So I wouldn't say, I'm definitely not going to say no to that. There's definitely money in that ecosystem. There's definitely some big projects that are doing some good things there. Right now, my thing would say yes. I think it would make sense to focus on Solana, or at least add that into your portfolio of ecosystems to take a look at. Let's see. How often are there bugs in the contracts on Immunify? Is it better to find bugs in small contracts, which are poorly audited but the bounty is small, or big projects that pay a lot but are well audited? In terms of, so the first question, which also goes to the, Nuko Nam's question as well, which is the current volume of bugs that are on Immunify that Immunify is handling any given day. It varies, but let's just say I would say on a daily basis, there's a good number of them. I can't give you a hard number. If I was going to guess, and I'm probably underreporting, I'll probably say 10 because there's a lot of ones that I don't see directly. But I would say on a daily basis, there are being bugs that are being submitted on Immunify. In terms of whether to find bugs that are small or large, it just depends. Normally, uh, at least from my understanding of how the process goes, you're not just searching for small bugs or large bugs. You're just looking for exploits or vulnerabilities in general, and then it's being submitted, and then it's kind of classified by and then it's classified as whether or not it's something that is critical or not critical. Like obviously something on, like, for example, like a like something where funds are being can be held hostage or at risk, and it's a critical vulnerability, versus something that's smaller and maybe not so critical, maybe like a broken function or something. But it depends. Usually, like, people just in general look for vulnerabilities and then they classify them later. So I wouldn't say that's like you're looking for specifically something big or something small. Let's see what else we got. How often do Web3 projects deploy new code? In Google, it's huge amounts of lines of code per day. The reason why I'm hunting there for a few years and still find bugs. How is it with Web3 projects? So it depends. I would say it depends on the activity of the Web3 or the dev team on the project. So sometimes the code is being updated frequently, and sometimes it's not so much. It depends on the type of project. So I can't really I can't really comment on how often code is being deployed. Whenever there's an update to the contract or contracts, the projects do let us know here at Immunify that it's being updated, and then we update that within the bug bounty page of that project. So most of the time, I would say a majority of the times you'll be working on the most updated contracts. Okay, got you. So to backtrack, if you guys have a bug to report and it's not currently on any of the projects listed on Immunify's database, just hit up Pepin here in Discord, and he can help you out with you know with moving that forward. So I got a question. When I was watching a video about smart contracts, the video explained that we cannot change the code of a smart contract. It's immutable. So if a bounty hunter finds a vulnerability, they can't change the smart contract. So how would they fix it? I see a few hard fork an entire IRS office. So yeah, so there's some there's some good yeah, proxy contracts is one of them. Um so if a bounty finds a vulnerability, essentially, like, I guess if it's for example funds at risk, there's multiple actions that could take place. But if you're talking about how to submit a fix, I'm not sure if that's the exact question. Um But essentially, what you can do, and it's been documented on our blog as well, is create a obviously submit the bug, create a test environment, and submit a proof of concept, and then along with a fix alongside it. So I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, or if it's or if it's yeah. I'm assuming that you're asking how would a bounty hunter or a project, how would a bounty hunter essentially come up with or like submit a fix. But if it's a project, obviously they can go ahead and change some of the code if they can. Um, should we learn Python or JavaScript or Solidity? Yeah, that's a good response, which is basically learn as many different languages as possible, comp sci in general, logic, and of course having knowledge of Solidity is a plus. Oh, that's a good resource, Sleepy. Thank you so much. So the answer, the other question of what are some common vulnerabilities found in smart contracts. So Sleepy added in a great resource. And IRS inspector is it's a good one too. Reentrancies definitely are still a big percentage of some of the exploits that are happening. Let's see what else we got. No, actually, yeah. So some of them surprisingly still have that. So yeah, so I wouldn't say all the old vulnerabilities are completely off the table. They should still be something to take a look into. Uh, so from I'm Yours Forever, can someone tell me where I can learn to write code to build smart contracts? Please don't suggest YouTube videos. Suggest some website or some learning materials for free. Um, so there's a few good ones. The one that I like to put forward, let's see if it's still there, is Crypto Zombies. Just because, well, I don't know if I know the Loom team was behind it, but that was one of my favorite resources just because I thought it was fun. It was a little bit gamified. So there's one. Oh, there you go. Thanks. Um, Nuko Nam beat me to it, but Crypto Zombies is one that I recommend just because it's fun. You get to build something, you actually get to see it being built. There's multiple levels for it. They also have different chains as well, and it's free, so it's interesting and it's fun. They have it for let's see. I'm taking a look at it now. So they have Solidity, which is basically beginner to intermediate. Should get you at least a good leg up in terms of understanding Solidity, or at least on a basic level. They have something in terms of Chainlink has one. I'm pretty sure that's probably some sort of cooperation that they did with Chainlink. There's Advanced Solidity, and then ZK Sync has some stuff that's on there as well. So definitely something to take a look into as a kickoff point. I'm sure there's other tutorials and other free resources that I'm not hitting on right now. But you guys can throw some things in the chat. Feel free to throw that in there, and share some resources for I'm Yours Forever. Yes, that's true. You can definitely become a top tier engineer without computer science. That's true. um, can you suggest any book related to smart contract hacking? I don't know of any. If you guys know of any books off the top of your head, feel free to throw them in the chat. Honestly, I don't know of any books off the top of my head. Uh, Most of the time, I speak with people or like white hats, and no one really uses a book. It's all done by experience in terms of and self-learning. So as it was stated early, reading, um, reading, and just you know and just doing it essentially. There's a lot of resources that are out here. Crypto Zombies is outdated. Thank you for ruining my for making a dent in my ego like I was sharing something related. IRS. No, it's all good. So just join Build Space. Ooh, that's a good one too. Uh, let me. Ooh, Build Space is nice, and it has a much nicer website than Crypto Zombies. But man, come on, zombies, right? So yeah, Build Space is a good one. Um, yes, Sleepy. That's why I love you, man. Crypto Zombies is a rite of passage. Is game theory economics vulnerability? Can they be reported? How to find them? Actually, I would have I would not. I'm not sure about that. I have to double check. For the most part, I believe we deal with smart contracts. But Pepin, if you have any insight on this, let me see. I'm gonna tag you. Uh, cool. I'll see if yeah, if Pepin has any insight, we'll see. Let's see. Yes, if you didn't do crypto zombies, you're not an OG Solidity. 100% right there. 100% there. Will Immunify create a hacktivity section that discloses resolved reports similar to HackerOne's? I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it. Zero X Tavi. I haven't looked at HackerOne's hacktivity section. For us, a lot of bugs that are reported aren't made public. The ones that are reported you can see on our blog, and sometimes we'll post it out on Twitter. And that's essentially where, again, you get a post-mortem, the bug fix, what was the issue, what were the assets in scope, what was at risk, things like that. I'm not sure, but that's a great suggestion. I'm not sure, but usually the disclosure is at the discretion of the project. So sometimes it's not. Sometimes the project just says we'll fix the bug, but let's not make it public. How much understanding of low-level EVM stuff helps with bug bounties, like understanding opcodes, assembly, how to use decompilers? Is Solidity enough? I think at the start, yes. I think it's not. It's useful. I think it's useful in general. I don't think. Yeah. So, but I think like being able to expand to some of the other ones allows you to be able to expand your scope in terms of bug hunting. So yeah. Uh, let's see. This is the DeFi era for bugs. Solidity bugs are old. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. So Mohammed brings up a good point. There is no central source or book or specific book to learn smart contract hacking. Most of the guys here either self-learn, they've just been in the trenches for long enough that just by doing so. Let's see what we got. Give me okay. So I'll throw something out there in a second. Let me see. I'm getting lost here. Um, Mastering Ethereum is good. I've seen it being recommended, but I wouldn't use it as a like Bible for smart contract hacking. Um, it's still a good resource though. Let's see what we got. Oh, there is a second one. Okay, cool. So there's a second one that focuses on smart contract concepts. Okay, cool. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's a good one too. I mean that's probably like the staple Immunify Waifu, which is the 2016 DAO hack with parity. That's probably like if you can understand that, that's a really really solid baseline. Share resources for Web3 bug. I guess can you give me some more context on that? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking for. Okay, cool. So there's a question by Arshia asking about process. So it's basically how can you catch vulnerabilities? What's your work style? How do you start? So we do have a few blog posts that are up there um, that talk about process and like mindset that are on our blog that are on the Immunify blog. But I'll link you to the blog for now. Here you go. So yeah, so that would give you a good idea. The article that was shared above by Sleepy's article that was shared above is also a good starting point as well. In terms of a good overview. So I'll copy it again. Gosh, and post it in the chat for anyone that's missed it. And I guess I'll tag you. Sheesh. So that should be a good. That's a pretty solid starting point. Let's see here. What else do we have? Is it worth hacking in the bear market? I get. I mean, I wouldn't see why it would not be. The projects are still active. Projects are still being built. So I think it would be solid to. I think it would be I think it would be a good. What do you call it? I would say it's still worth hacking in the bear market. I'm losing my thought. Okay, cool. HackerOne activity. Let's take a look at this. Um, got you. I see. I see. I see. I see. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll bring this up with product and see if they can put something together that's similar to this. Again, like I said, a lot of projects keep a lot of their exploits as undisclosed or private. So it's just a conversation between the project and the white hat and Immunify, and it doesn't get public. So unless there's a bigger disclosure, usually the ones like this are public. So I'm not sure. I'll bring it up with product as a suggestion. So I appreciate that. If the repo is public, best case, maybe look at diffs and PRs. Yes. And a activity section would wipe off so many problems of the team in a white hat hackers. That's true. It would create a lot more transparency in terms of the space. Yeah, exactly. So Pepin brings up a good point. So Xerox Pranav, to answer your question about game theory, economics, vulnerabilities. So most of the time, it usually depends on what's in scope for the project. Um, so usually the bug bounty program that a project puts up is the scope is being outlined. It will be disclosed as out of scope, but if it's something that they feel is relevant, or at least something that I feel is somewhat critical in some way, or a vulnerability in some way that affects the project or the users in a way, I believe they would be willing to have a chat or reward you. But don't quote me on that. Is there a tab for disclosed reports that can be viewed as a case study? Yes. Um, let's see. I mean, right here. Here, hold on. Um, Gosh, where am I? Yeah. Getting lost in the chat. Yeah. So it would be. Check this one out. This would be one channel. The other one is also our blog as well. Our blog has a bunch of postmortems and fixes. So cool. The one thing too, I'll just say verbally right now, just because we're about like 30 minutes in. So there is a PO-op for today. If you want a link, just send me a DM and I'll send you over a link to a PO-op. Um, let's see what else we got. So yeah, if you want the PO-op, just shoot me a DM and I'll send a link over. Ethereum is the most common protocol used in the Web3 ecosystem. What are the other common protocols? Let's see. We have some layer twos: Arbitrum, ZK Sync, Optimism. Obviously, those are EVM based. So Ethereum is the popular one. We have Solana, Avalanche. What else do we have? BSC. Let's see. I don't even know what else we got. We have a lot. We pretty much cover. We have no preference in terms of blockchain, or specific blockchain. So it's pretty much in terms of common protocols. I would say right now the most common is Ethereum, but that doesn't close the door on any of the other protocols that we work with. When we disclose a vulnerability and the project fixes it, can we assume that we can write a write-up about it? Yes, but usually it would come with the project's discretion. So I would probably link up with them first, after, like, for example, like everything's set and done, and everything settles, then I would talk to them about writing a write-up. But that would be perfect. But if you want to write about something like that, like ping Pepin, and we can go ahead and get you set up in terms of getting you published on getting it published on our blog and pushing it out on our socials. Is there any bug type which is not required by any language in Web3 to hack? Uh, I'm not sure. Like I said, in terms of bug types, uh, they are usually being outlined. So if you go into the bounties section if you go into explore bounties, like if, for example, if you go into if you go into, for example, like Decentraland, they talk about all the different smart contracts and assets in scope. So normally it'd be wise to stick to those. Um, just because those are the ones that are in scope. But if not, any out of scope bounties that you find, it might make sense to link up with the project and see if there's anything there. Let's see what else we got. um, we do the recon like stuff. We just okay. Securium bootcamp videos. Yes. Alex Schlindwine. Yeah, that's a good one in terms of process. The interview with Alex Schlindwine. Securium. Yeah, that's a good one too. Hey, Pangolin's here. Less technical question. How do you think the bug bounty space will evolve during these bear market times? Will platforms have less money to think about having bug bounty programs, or will there be more bugs due to some build race? That's a good question. I'll give you my opinion. I wouldn't say my opinion is by any means. Uh, I would say just take it with a grain of salt. As far as the bug bounty space, as long as projects, especially in the DeFi space, are being or even now currently in the metaverse and NFT space, where they're starting to deal with user asset funds, it's definitely important. And I still think there's definitely a space, or at least like a big participation for like a company like Immunify to be involved. I think in terms of bug bounties, it's always going to be about user assets and just the project and making sure, for example, funds are safe. There's no exploits, and so I would still think that it would remain consistent in terms of platforms having less money. I mean, Spool in the bear market just released a 1.5 million bounty like last week. Uh, Decentraland and Sandbox had six-figure bounties that are being pushed out. So I don't see. Maybe there might be a slight reduction. I've actually seen more bounty increases than I have decreases in the past few weeks. Um, I don't know if there's gonna be more bugs due to build race. I think the amount of bugs that are there is just dependent on how clean the smart contracts are being built or how airtight they are. Let's see what we got. Bear market is a time to hack. Yeah. Any recommended OS like Kali or Windows? So we got one recommendation for Ubuntu and Linux. Yeah, that's correct. Pangolin's right. Like when there's a bear market, there's more there people are more likely to build. Again, it goes back to what I was saying before, which is basically if like it's more about product and product market fit more so than hype. During a little bit of the peak, there was a lot of. It's funny. There's a few projects that I ran across that I thought were kind of funny. It goes back to like some of the stuff that I read about or like that I talked about, or not I talked about, but I talked with about people that were trying to tokenize all these random things. There was a big step up in terms of tokenizing like fitness or like putting fitness on the blockchain. As you can see with like Step App and Step In and a few of the other ones, like what was the weird one that I ran into? Like tokenizing your heartbeat was kind of weird. So yeah, so I definitely agree with the so Pangolin's definitely 100% right there. um okay, so Arshia wrote, I read this 2 months ago, but I mean, how's your process in finding vulnerabilities? Example, do you look at code first or report of the graph or try to understand? Okay, so to answer your question, your follow-up, it depends. So everybody's process is different. So I'll outline some of the processes that I've listened to, not me personally, have done, but people that have told me about their process. So for example, like some people just look at the code, the first glance of code. So let's say they run into a new project, they just look at the code just briefly. It's just a nice glance to see if there's anything that's glaring that pops out at them. This is kind of Sam CZ's process where he just does a first very light look at the code to see if there's anything that pops up. And if there's something that's glaring, he'll look deeper into it. Then you have also the process of people that take a look into the code more deeply. So they go line by line. They try to analyze it, analyze the logic, analyze the code. In terms of process, it's different for every person. So I wouldn't say there is a one right process to do it. It just depends on your method in terms of what gets you in the right mindset and what actually helps you find things that stand out. Let's see what else we got. Cool. So there's some good chatting here. We want, yeah. Is he even here? Is Poning that ETH here? Let me see. I haven't even checked the event channel. Where are you? I'm gonna put you on stage. I'm just kidding. Um, no, I don't see him. I'm just doing a quick look. Um, let's see. See what else we got. Um, yeah, there's some really good information that's in here. Is the $10 million in here? I forgot the pseudo. Let me see. I don't believe he's in here. Um, I know the pseudo, but let's see if he's in. I don't think he's in here today. No, I don't see him. Um, okay. You found it. Start with Slack code base. Lots of Dora the Explorer here. How many bugs was submitted in DApps? Pangolin, I'm still here. Um, hold on. Oh. Sure. Let's see. I'm not sure what you mean about how many bugs were submitted in dApps. How many DApp related bounties? I guess give me some context there. Ignacio. Oh gosh. If payments for disclosure of vulnerabilities are big, then what's the ideal payment? Do the blockchain dev companies pay for third-party smart contract audit services? Just curious. Okay. So here's how this normally works. So usually some of these companies or projects do pay for third-party smart contract auditing. This is like working with like again like Trail of Bits, QuantStamp, Open Zeppelin, guys like those guys. Um, so they do pay for that. Most of the time, I would say a good portion of the time, a lot of those assets and scope that are there are not being included in the bug bounty. So, for example, like if you had a certain part of your smart contract being audited by an auditing firm, usually that's not being included in the assets and scope. And we'll highlight that in the bug bounty page. We'll just tell you that X and X asset was already audited by, let's say, QuantStamp, and it's not an asset in scope, so you can't essentially report that bug in a sense and get a reward for it. In terms of ideal payment, there is like a light 10% rule of like, for example, like assets in or assets in that are in danger, but it's really up to the project's discretion. So we've had things, as you guys seen, as high as like 10 million, anywhere between that and somewhere as low as like 2,000. So there's, I wouldn't say there's an ideal payment structure or ideal payment for this. It just depends in terms of what's in scope and what's in budget for the project. Is there any info on how many high low bugs submitted? Oh, that so Pangolin, that's actually like what was kind of being asked by someone asking about, for example, HackerOne's hacktivity section, in terms of just getting some insight of what is actually being submitted. So it's something that I'll bring this up to product again, because this is definitely something that's been brought up multiple times by you and other people as well. But I think one of the things too is what I was saying before is a lot of the projects don't disclose some of the vulnerabilities that are found. Some of them just get it fixed, and then just keep it, you know, keep it under wraps and don't really report it. So a lot of it also has to do with discretion of the projects, not necessarily whether or not we can or we can't report it. We could definitely report it. It just depends on if they want that to be reported. So Hafiz wrote, you basically just have to review code and look for vulnerabilities. In a simple nutshell, yes, that's pretty much it. Yeah, down VF. That's a good one. All right, let me see where we're at. Okay, hold on. Okay, so okay, let's see what we got. Um, what are the Web 2 vulnerabilities that we could find in Web 3? I've searched for XSS and it looks hard to compare to Web 2.0. Well, in Web 2, you don't really work with smart contracts. Um, so I guess you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in terms of Web 3 and Web 2, most of the, for example, website and application assets in scope are probably the most comparable. Um, so that'd be kind of my suggestion there, but I don't think. I mean, I don't really see smart contracts being used in Web 2.0 or Web 2, so I would say just website and application seems to be the most applicable there. Mm. I'm glad you can hear me. Hey, gosh. It's like when he hears his name, Daniel just pops up. No, it's good to have you here. Live event, yeah. Hopefully, we can do something on that. But that's a loaded question. Why is it difficult to make a blockchain which fulfills all three aspects of security, scalability, and decentralization? Because usually when you do like when you usually you essentially the let's say the moniker for this is out of those three you pick two. If you do the third one, it ends up becoming very complicated. So, for example, like security and scalability, or security and decentralization, and you get rid of scalability, or scalability and decentralization, but you sacrifice security. So usually that ends up being the case. I'm sure there's other projects or blockchains that are or layer ones that are trying to solve this. I don't know if they have or haven't. I haven't really come across one where it has. So that's kind of just the conundrum that we're in. But hey, man, I mean, it's still an early space, so I'm not saying that it's not impossible. Let's see. Skycoder, my DM is locked. Okay, let me see if I can send you a friend request. All right, I sent you a friend request. So let me know if you got that. How likely is it to find a Web3 bug compared to a Web 2 bug? Is it possible that a smart contract does not have vulnerabilities no matter how deep you look at it? Web 3 bug compared to Web 2. I don't know. I don't have any numbers or any experience on that. But I would assume they're kind of both on the same page. So yeah, so I no insight on that. Is it possible that a smart contract does not have any vulnerabilities? Yes, it's possible. Daniel just wrote that in there as well. What if a third party has a bug affecting a smart contract in scope? Uh, how does that work? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to visualize that. How does a third party have a bug? I mean, unless the third party is directly integrated into that smart contract, I don't see where this kind of fits actually. I mean, geez, you know, um, I'm not sure if yeah, I don't know if I mean like unless the third party is directly integrated into the smart contract, then yes, there but usually like third parties, for example, third party apps are just third party apps. So for example, the third party has a vulnerability, it just affects the third party, more so than it does, the smart contract of the project. Is code review or fuzzing more effective for finding crypto vulnerabilities? I know in terms of memory corruption vulnerabilities, it's always fuzzing. I would say it's a little bit of both. I can't give you too much insight on that, but I guess like like anybody that can provide some insight there in terms of code review versus fuzzing, um, feel free to throw up your input for iffy recluse. Can you show some general statistics about bugs? Like for every month, how many bugs were found, categorized by amount paid? That's interesting. That's actually I that could be something that we add into our newsletter. Hold on, I will tag Margarita. That might be something that you can add to the newsletter. That's actually pretty good. To have in the newsletter some general stats about like the month, like how many bugs were found, not disclosing every single one, but just a general number, and then how much was paid out for the month. I think that'd be pretty cool. That's a good suggestion. Thank you, Ezra. Let's see what we got. Getting a ton of friend requests. Let's see. Um, what is the setup needed for auditing a smart contract? Covered above or covered earlier, but basically, uh, understanding. I mean, understanding. Code logic. In terms of tools, I guess like obviously understanding how to set up a test environment and being able to test those and creating a proof of concept. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tools that you can use. Project management triangle. Yeah, there you go. Um, a leaderboard. The one thing about a leaderboard too, that's an issue too, is like some of the white hats want to stay anonymous, and they don't want to be publicized. So essentially, the leaderboard would be skewed. Which I mean, it's definitely something that we could do. It just wouldn't be the most accurate thing to put up there. Are there any free resources to learn smart contracts and how to find bugs in them? And any bug list slash repo for normal web apps. Yeah, there you go. Pranav put up a good resource. You can also check the Immunify blog as well. That is a good resource. We do put a lot of postmortems and bug fixes in there. So it's definitely a plus if you want to look at explanations, why certain hacks were criticals, and what the fixes were and why the fixes work. Uh, a YouTube video. So this is a more of a technical question. If I destroy the implementation of a transparent proxy, let's say with initialize plus arbitrary delegate call and self-destruct call to my contract, will the proxy keep working or will it not, as it should always point to an implementation? Okay, so Gan MRM, thank you for answering that. It's a little bit technical on my side, but he wrote, the problem would be to eliminate the proxy. If you eliminate the implementation, you can use the proxy to set up a new implementation. He's saying about third-party auditor assets of the same company. Do you think What do you think is compromised in Solana because of its high scalability? Uh, I have no clue, VJ. That's out of my scope, to be honest with you. And as far as like what's being compromised, I mean, in terms of the triangle, I see what you're saying. In terms of the triangle, I think it's the security aspect of it. A few times Solana has shut down their operations for like a short periods of time. So it is definitely highly scalable. I do know a few people on that team, and they are working on a solid project in terms of trying to build a scalable, very usable layer one. Um, I'm not too in depth in terms of the security aspect of things. So that might be something that you guys have to take a look into. But I think from my understanding, it was the security that was not being compromised, but kind of quote unquote being sacrificed. Uh, let's see. What are some of the leading ideas from the Immunify team of where attacks unknowns could be coming from? I guess give me some context there. Is this on the smart contract side? Uh, or like in general, what are the most common attacks? Give me some context there, and I'll help you out. Oh, VJ got that question earlier. I found a bug in a program and I reported it. I looked at the program again and it seems that they removed it. Can a program add and remove the acceptance of any bug? Does that mean we have to look at the programs always to see if they added new things? If you found a bug and you reported it, did I guess the question to ask is if anybody responded back to your submission. In terms of adding or removing acceptance of any bug. I don't think that it's at will. As far as modification of the program, that happens constantly. We're not indirectly. Oh, I mean, we're in control of of publishing the changes, but we're not in control of whether or not they want to make changes to the bug bounty program or not. So if they add new things, they're free to add new things that are in scope or new like impacts, things like that. If no one, I'm not sure. Um, I guess like if you have a question, I guess if you want to learn more about it, I guess like ping Pepin on that, see if he can help you out with that. If you submit it, usually it gets dealt with, or at least you get some sort of reply. So I'm not sure why you submitted it and why it got removed. That's not in my department. That usually, from my understanding, anything that gets submitted gets dealt with as soon as possible. Oh, this is fire. Thank you. Um, yeah. What is the most common programming language you see for crypto clients slash servers? It looks like Rust, but I'm also wondering if you use C++ or C, maybe. I think it depends on the platform. I always say depends. It depends on the platform and the project. Because it and also depends on what they're building on. So, like for example, if you're building on Ethereum versus like Solana versus I don't know, like Avalanche, like there's some similarity in tech stack. But I guess it depends. I wouldn't say there's anything that's more common than the other. It just depends on what you're specifically looking at. Uh, is sending tokens to slash NFT to zero? That's actually Bad practice. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, John. It's actually good. Um, what is the most common bug among these? Where should someone new to Web3 focus on? Let's see. Theft of unclaimed yield, like uninitialized stuff, logic bugs and token implementation. Um, again, this also depends on structure of the smart contract or the asset and scope. So I wouldn't say any one is more or less common than the other. I think they're kind of the way that I'm looking at it is they're kind of all on the same level. It just depends on how things are being built, really more so than one, being more common than the other. How to start a bug bounty? Message Pepin, and then we can redirect you to the sales team, and we can get that going. Let's see. Context is that most common vulnerabilities are already known, but seems that the most dangerous attacks are creative. Maybe the better question is, are there any internal brainstorm sessions that try to anticipate new types of attacks? Something known, some sort of Web3 Art of War sessions. I'm not familiar if there's any, for example, like brainstorm sessions that are available. I do know that, for example, if there's new tools or protocols or functions, like so, for example, like the big one that makes things a little bit more exploitable is the flash loans. So that this is something that was implemented by Aave a little while back. But flash loans was something that attackers saw that was easily used to exploit a lot of protocols. So it's a multitude of things. So there's common vulnerabilities, but in terms of like creativity, it usually depends on like these brand new like tools or these brand new functions or functionalities that give people more use cases that haven't really been fully explored. So that would kind of go on the creativity side. um, Adj, if you have any more on that, like if it's um oh, so maybe after they paid and they removed it for being in scope. I mean, that is kind of normal. Sometimes, like if they might have had like a cap on certain assets. So, for example, if they hit a cap and they paid it out, then it gets removed from scope. Sometimes that does happen. Or as Pepin said, maybe they didn't want to receive any of those types of vulnerabilities anymore. So, let's see what else we got. What else you guys got? I'm gonna start. Otherwise, I'm gonna start sending out pull-up links just because I've been busy in the chat. That's a good. This is a good resources. I've been doing a lot of talking today. Again, all right. Also, so if you guys want, again, the POAP is available. So DM me for the POAP. And I'll send you over a link. I'm starting to send off some more links now. Yeah. What are the few best smart contract slash blockchain security audit firms? Off the top of my head, we got Chain Security, Open Zeppelin, Trail of Bits, QuantStamp, Certic, uh, Guardian, but I think I wouldn't say. I mean, Guardian does other things too. But there's a bunch of them. We had Chain Security on a few weeks back, back in early May. Um, but if you guys are interested, I could definitely put together something else for another to see if I can get another auditing company on here as a guest. So Penguin wrote, for those that have found and reported bugs, do you prefer manually reviewing code or using scanners or a little bit of both? So for you guys that have found any bugs, uh, feel free to throw some suggestions in the chat. From what I know, Pangolin, at least speaking with like, for example, like in like Giannis from DDob when I had him on here, his is more of an auto like his uses scanners just because it's a technology that he developed or his group developed. Um, and then so if they find a vulnerability, it ends up becoming manual review. But at the start, I would say, yeah, I say it's kind of, it just depends on people's method, funny enough. There's a few guys that just do manual and don't use any automated tools. There's a few guys that just use automated, like DDoP, that uses automated tools to find, just because there's so many smart contracts out there that find exploits and then they turn it into a manual review. Sometimes it's just a light look. Sometimes it's a light manual look, but it just depends. I would say, like, for the most part, it's really up to personal preference. At least that's kind of my outlook on it. Uh, Web3 companies also audit their apps. Uh, yes, unless you're looking for auditing firms, and I just listed a bunch. Best advice you can give to a beginner. Just get started. It's so easy to get overwhelmed and sit on the sidelines and just take a look at all this stuff. Um, but really, it's just start learning, start testing things out. Like I said, we have a lot of bug fixes and postmortems in our blog. We also have a blog post about how to set up a test environment. So it's really just getting your hands dirty in terms of trying all this stuff out. It's all good. I love the questions. No, no worries. Is there a possibility to apply for a job at Immunify? Yeah, I think so. Ping Pepin. See what he'll point you in the right direction. We are always constantly building the team. So yes, there is always a possibility to work here at Immunify. I've applied on the jobs page but gotten refusals. Yeah, Ping Pepin. See what he can match you up with. But yeah, we're always looking to expand the team. I have no insight in terms of your capability. Um, but yeah, so let's see what we can get you linked up with. Um, so Pangolin has reported Web 2, scanned and manual that's actually been I wouldn't say it's the norm, but I've seen more and more people do this where they use a tool to scan and then manually review. So that seems like the norm, but again, like I don't know if that's normal or if that's the norm or if it's more manual. But I've seen a lot of people also not even touch any scanners at all and just do all manual review. So I guess it just depends on, like I said, your personal preference. Yeah, exactly. That was so Pangolin. That was actually what So this was actually what Giannis was talking about when I had him on. The reason he built his own software was because he had a lot of he was using a lot of scanners that are on Web3 that were pushing a lot of false positives. Um, and so he wanted something a little bit more accurate. Mount X Lover. If you had the chance to start all over again in blockchain and smart contract security, how would you do it? That's a great question. I mean, I'm not really in depth in blockchain and smart contract security, but if I had to go into it, I would probably try to build a technical background. And then, like I said, dive deep into a lot of the resources that were just being shared here today, which is basically learning how to uh, like taking a look at old bug fixes and old postmortems and understanding the logic behind them, not just the code, but why they were exploits, why they were criticals, why funds were at risk, and just asking those questions. Okay, cool. I appreciate that. So ID besides remix, Mohammed, thanks for hitting that one up. I started learning Solidity and got exhausted after learning it midway. What's the best tip? Uh, I mean, you just got to keep pushing through. It's not always going to be fun, and it's not always going to be the most exciting thing. There's always going to be a time where there's a lull. And you just kind of have to push through it. That's at least my tip there. Is just sometimes like there's kind of like a period. I always call it the suck period, right? So you have your phases. The beginning, when you first learn something, it's gonna suck. You're gonna feel so stupid and dumb, and everything sucks, and learning it sucks, and trying it out sucks. But then you kind of hit another a threshold, and it kind of gets better. It becomes a little bit easier. You kind of understand things, and then you hit a third threshold where it becomes like, oh, I know this second nature. I don't have to reference a lot of docs. I don't have to reference a lot of my references, and it goes a lot more smoothly. So like the beginning is gonna always suck for anything you learn, whether it's Solidity or riding a bike or learning how to cook something. Um, yeah, that's some good advice, Ezra. Any more beginner advice would be awesome in terms of how you guys got started or what you guys would redo. So not to jump into the code, but spend time reading the docs. Um, and what can go wrong with the contract. That's good too. Although I have heard the opposite, which is the docs don't tell the truth. It's the code is the truth. Because sometimes the docs aren't being updated regularly. Um, yeah, just keep on going. Yeah, I got a little bit more time, then I gotta hop off. But yeah, I'll another one here. Again, a reminder for pull-ups. Send me a DM. All right, and then I'll shoot you out a link as quickly as I get some bandwidth to. But you'll all get a link if you send me a DM. Unless I run out, then I have to make more. Which ecosystems have the most reports? Um, well, I mean, I would say right now Ethereum, just because Ethereum is the biggest one. But again, it's not to say it's the only ecosystem. Like it was mentioned earlier, maybe Solana might have less competition, just because it's a little bit smaller, and everybody's always looking at Ethereum. see what we got. Um, I'm running through the POAP links right now. So if you want one, like I said, just shoot me over a DM and I'll get one over to you. Hey. But again, appreciate you guys hopping on for this. And yeah, if you haven't followed us yet on Twitter, I mean, you're here on Discord. If you haven't followed us on Twitter or subscribed to our newsletter, do so. That's the best way to get most updated with the recently launched bug bounties. As you can see, I post them up as I get them in the as I post them up as I launch them. So the most up to date place would be probably Twitter, our Telegram announcements channel, or here in Discord. Just follow the new bug bounties channel. That's probably like the easiest way to do it. Or you could just I do know a few people that have written a script. I do know a few people that have written a script that just gets a notification when it gets posted onto the Munify website. So, I mean, if you want to do that too, you could do that. Ignacio POAPs, just the POAPs are on XDAI. I mean, that's probably the easiest way to like claim them. Yeah, Pangolin Sandbox is really cool. We also did one with Alluvium as well. A few weeks back. So that one's a cool one as well. If you're looking at like fun looking games. But yeah, I'll hang around for a few more minutes. If you guys got any more questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I'll be working on the POAP links right now and just shooting them out to you guys. I got something to hop off into. Okay, cool. Yeah. I got something to hop off into in the next few minutes, but I appreciate you guys coming out. As always, I love the conversation here. Love the sharing of ideas and resources. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys. But yeah, I mean, I'll stick around for a little bit. If you guys get any more questions, throw them up in the chat. For the time being, I'll just work on the POAP links.